Hey, it's your guy Tyrrell back with the InnerViews. In today's video, we're going to briefly break down how Manchester United knocked Chelsea out of the Carabao Cup. But before we do that, don't forget to give our video a thumbs up if you do enjoy it. The bell below does give you daily notifications regarding our organic, unfiltered soccer/footy analysis. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel. But now, let's get to the starting lineups. We look at Chelsea 4-3-3, Hudson-Odoi, Michy Batshuayi, and Pulisic up front with Kovacic, Jorginho, and Billy Gilmour in midfield. Then we move to Manchester United, more of a 3-4-1-2. Daniel James and Marcus Rashford ahead of Jesse Lingard. Out in the wing-back roles, Wan-Bissaka and Williams. And in midfield, Fred and McTominay. So now, let's get to the first half, see how both sides look to approach the game and how Manchester United caused Chelsea so many problems in the opening 45. So when we break down Manchester United against Chelsea, the key talking point here was United staying with the 3-4-1-2. It's a system that United have really excelled in during Solskjaer's term at Old Trafford, and here they continue to do that. When we do break it down and look at the board, like I said, you have United in the 3-4-1-2, and really that system nullified Chelsea's offensive threats in that opening half. When we really look at it, it's so simple. You have the center backs with the ball, and instantly what United were doing was they had James and Rashford working hard to close them down. That leaves Chelsea with outlets in the wider areas, but the wingbacks were very aggressive with their positioning and they were pushing high. Williams and Wan-Bissaka ensured that Reece James and Marcos Alonso never really had time on the ball, and the midfield battle was set in stone. You had Lingard, who can do this job and was doing it for Jose Mourinho during his time, sitting on Jorginho, closing down the deep line playmaker, ensuring that he does not allow them any time on the ball or the ability to control the tempo of the game. And in midfield, Fred and McTominay worked extremely hard to ensure that Kovacic and Gilmour were not able to get on the ball. And that leaves 3v3 in up front, and Chelsea did struggle to get the ball into Hudson-Odoi and Pulisic, and they were very narrow because obviously with the wingbacks pushing high, that does allow space for the fullbacks in Alonso and Reece James to get forward, but they never really got on the ball. If Pulisic looked to drop off a bit deeper, you would have Lindelof step to him, and we often saw the same thing for Hudson-Odoi, who was marked tightly by Rojo. So that is how United really went about their business, and even when Chelsea tried to vary their movement in that first half, they didn't really do enough. For instance, if we have, let's say, Pulisic drift off a bit wider, Lindelof would stay off him, and then you'd have Wan-Bissaka push out. What we would see now from United is that you can have a midfield shuttler in, say, McTominay push out into Alonso and then have Fred shift over. There's no real threat of Alonso playing that cross-field pass into the path to Gilmour, so Fred could shift over. They can have, like I said, McTominay stepping to him, and that helps United cope with that pressure. On the flip side, if it goes to the opposite side and we see Hudson-Odoi shift out and peg back Williams, you expect the same from Fred pushing out to Reece James, and then you have McTominay shifting over, and United don't really have any issues in that ballpark. The issue that they could obviously encounter is that if those players do pull wide, and then you have Gilmour, and you also have Kovacic staying in narrow positions, you could see Fred and McTominay staying tight to them so that they don't get on the ball. And that is when you need United's forwards in Rashford and James to push over. So if the ball is pushed out to Alonso, you would want, regardless of who's on that side, Rashford or James, to track back to ensure that that Alonso is closed down and can get forward. And we often saw that. So United kind of create a triangle. They have Lindelof as the spare man, and they're able to cope with Chelsea's attacking threat and nullify their combinations down that flank. United can deal with the two Chelsea center backs pushing forward with the ball. That's not a big deal for them because they weren't really harming them with penetrative passes or passes that split the lines, so they could do the same thing on the opposite side. Let's say the ball goes out to Reece James, you have Rashford or Daniel James stepping out to him, and everything else is set in stone. Rojo's the spare man, you have Hudson-Odoi out wide, and this is what United wanted, and this is the issue that Chelsea encountered in that opening half, is that they couldn't find any avenues to goal because United were so organized. They were energetic and they pressed constantly, and they ensured that Chelsea couldn't find any time or space on that ball in midfield zones, and that was pivotal. Jorginho was never really in the game. Like I said, Kovacic struggled to win the battle with McTominay. Fred was out muscling Gilmour, and when you really break it down, even when there were opportunities for Chelsea to break forward, you had United's midfielders stepping in. There was one time where you had Hudson Hudson-Odoi in a deeper position, running by Williams, and what we saw was Fred shift across, and he ensured that Hudson-Odoi was unable to push forward by winning the ball. Shortly after that, there were instances where we had Kovacic in midfield looking to get forward, and you have McTominay come across. There was one time where we saw Michy Batshuayi dispossess Rojo in midfield, and as he looked to cut central, it's McTominay coming across again. Scott McTominay has really excelled for United over the past few weeks, breaking up play in midfield, playing positive passes, ensuring that United don't lose the battle in those central zones, and that was key here. And once again, he was the dominant figure in those opening 45 minutes and ensuring that Solskjaer's approach worked to a T. So when we see how United went about their business, it does make sense, but like Chelsea, their attacking approach was stifled due to the fact that they were playing a quite bit reactive. When we look to like their best opportunity prior to the build up to the goal, it's simply McTominay getting a bit of space and Kovacic doesn't get out, and he slides the ball out into the path of Wan-Bissaka, and with Alonso stepping forward, we see Lingard making an intelligent run across Alonso so that Wan-Bissaka could poke the ball into that right channel, but Guehi comes across and ensures that he blocks Lingard's cross. That was United's best piece of movement in that opening half prior to the build up to their goal, but what can be said is that the build up to the penalty that Rashford did convert justifies Solskjaer's approach. What we end up seeing there is that Alonso does have the ball and he's closed down by Daniel James and Wan-Bissaka, who was stepping forward, and what happens there is that he notices that he gets stuck in a box between those two. So what he ends up trying to do is that he splits Wan-Bissaka and Daniel James and plays the ball to Kovacic, but it's McTominay again stepping into the ball, winning the challenge, and that sets Daniel James free. So Daniel James is free and he's able to run at goal, and he skips by Jorginho, and with Alonso trying to recover his space based off the fact that he did lose the ball to James. What happens there is that Alonso gets across James and concedes the penalty that Rashford eventually converts. And just like that, we see how United's approach did play a key role to their opening goal, but Chelsea did have one opportunity in that opening half. It just went to show how United could be breached if they did switch off. So when we look to that example, it's Jorginho finally getting a bit of space away from Lingard ahead of James to clip a diagonal ball out to Hudson-Odoi. Williams ends up stepping to him, but what we end up seeing there is that Reece James is able to make a run forward because Fred is occupied by Gilmore and Rashford doesn't track back. And that was one of the key aspects to what United was doing right in that first half. You have Reece James making the underlapping run, and we end up seeing Hudson-Odoi poke the ball into him in that right channel, and he's able to deliver across into the box that does bypass Rojo and Gilmore, and it ends up falling into the path of Pulisic. But when it falls towards the path of Pulisic, Wan-Bissaka does well to read it, get across, and clear United's lines. But that first half, very few chances. United's defensive approach, dropping into a back five when they need to, pushing high to press aggressively in a back three, paid dividends, and it was crucial to the fact that they were able to take the lead because it led to the build-up to the penalty. So when we look to the second half, United did stick to their initial approach that was so successful in the first half, but the issue that they had in the second half was that they kind of switched off on certain occasions, and with Chelsea being so direct, they were able to find holes in United's approach. When we look to their first opportunity 3 minutes into that half, it's simply Lingard tracking Jorginho all the way to half, but then Jorginho moves away from him into more of a left channel role to pick up the ball, and when he picks up the ball in that deeper left channel, he's able to slide the ball to the right of James into Kovacic, who moves away from McTominay, which is what we never saw in the first half. If Kovacic picked up the ball, McTominay was in close proximity. Here, we saw him get away from him, and what happens now is that Kovacic, before McTominay can step to him, slides the ball out to Pulisic, holding that touchline. And how that happened was based off the fact that Wan-Bissaka was occupied by Alonso making a narrow run. Once Pulisic gets the ball, Wan-Bissaka throws Alonso to Lindelof so he can step to Pulisic. And what we end up seeing there is that McTominay ends up retreating his position, and Pulisic cuts central, and he's able to split Wan-Bissaka and McTominay to play the ball into Michy Batshuayi. Michy ends up receiving the ball ahead of Maguire, and with Lindelof end up coming across, Lindelof comes across towards him, and that allows Michy to play the ball into that left channel for Alonso. So when Alonso gets that ball in that left channel, or specifically left half space, he delivers a cross into the box that does see Pulisic attack it, but Rojo gets across him, and we have Hudson-Odoi making a run ahead of Williams, and he is goal side. Hudson-Odoi should tap his effort in from point blank range, but he doesn't make good connection with it, and the ball rolls out for a goal kick. But that goes to show you how Chelsea are going about their business. United switching off, and when United switch off from that diligent pressing and closing down that we saw in that first half, Chelsea were able to get chances. Shortly after that, we see Chelsea once again execute when United switch off. We have Zouma switching out the ball to Reece James, and Reece James is free to get on the ball, one, because Rashford is bypassed and he's not tracking back. We have Fred occupied by Gilmore, and we have Hudson-Odoi drifting to the flank to ensure that Williams has to come out to him. Normally, we saw in the first half, when those situations arise, Rashford or James would drop off so that they can move to the fullback to ensure that Chelsea can't push forward. Here, he's sucked in by Zouma. Now Reece James has free time to push forward, and with no one stepping to him, he delivers an early cross into the box. Luckily for United, Maguire does read it, and Michy Batshuayi, peeling off in between Lindelof and Maguire, makes his run too late, and Maguire's able to hold them off to ensure that the ball rolls out for a goal kick. But just like that, a simple switch off, Rashford not sticking to his duties, and Chelsea are able to build some sort of a golden opportunity. Shortly after that, you see Chelsea being able to break out of United's press, reap rewards. Chelsea from a goal kick are pressed high, and it's simple as to how United are going to go about it. They have Rashford and James stepping out to the center backs, and they have Lingard ahead of Jorginho to ensure that he doesn't get on the ball. So that looks like an issue for Chelsea if they want to play out of it, because they have United's front three ready to pounce if they do attempt to do that. You have Zouma get on the ball, and instantly he is about to be closed down, but he locates Kovacic darting into space in between James and Lingard. You don't see McTominay step to him because of where he possibly is, and McTominay doesn't want to get pulled into him. But when Kovacic does get the ball, Daniel James does try to press him. You have Kovacic holding him off, and then you have Lingard also stepping because it looks like Kovacic is about to lose the ball. With James and Lingard stepping to him, it looks like Kovacic probably would lose it, but what we end up seeing is that we have Pulisic dropping off into midfield. Lindelof does track him, but once he gets towards half, Lindelof backs off, and Kovacic is able to drop the ball off to Pulisic, who instantly turns and clips a ball over the United high defense for Hudson-Odoi, making a run in between Rojo and Williams to break free. He lets the ball bounce, and with Rojo coming across, Hudson-Odoi volleys the effort inches over the net. Why is that key? Well, in the first half, we possibly wouldn't see Kovacic make that run, and if he did, McTominay would step to him. Sure, McTominay doesn't step to him. Kovacic is still in danger, but what is key here is that Pulisic would have never made that drop-off into his own half in the first half, and that's what he did here. Dropped into his zone, knew Lindelof wouldn't follow him all the way. Lindelof retreated, and once he turns, he's able to use his creativity to pick out Hudson-Odoi, and that was key. So when we looked at Chelsea's equalizer, it's direct, it's simple, and once again, it highlights United mistakes. It's Caballero clipping the ball into United's half, and you see Michy Batshuayi attack it with Maguire. Batshuayi wins the header, and Maguire does lose track of the ball, and it allows Batshuayi to break forward at Rojo and cut away from Lindelof. He's able to get away from them and fire a low shot on goal. That does beat Romero. But when you really break that down, it's Route 1 football. Punch from the goalkeeper. Batshuayi does win the ball, and he's able to run at the two center backs. One of them has to take Batshuayi out or shield him away from goal. They don't do that, and you see Chelsea equalize. Then we saw Solskjaer make some changes. He brought on Martial and Andreas Pereira for Lindelof and Lingard, and United moved to more of a 4-2-3-1 with the hopes that they'd be able to push forward with the ball and then still have a threat on Jorginho to ensure that he can't really control the game. Rashford moved out to the left and Daniel James moved out to the right. but we also saw Chelsea make some changes. Mason Mount came on for Gilmore, and we saw Pedro come on for Pulisic, which pushed out Hudson-Odoi to the left, and Chelsea themselves became more of a 4-2-3-1. So both sides playing identical systems, no real chances were created, but United were able to go ahead. And the manner that they do so, again, justifies Solskjaer's approach. So when we look at it, it's pretty simple from United. Chelsea trying to play out of the back. You have Martial staying towards Gahey. You have Kovacic dropping off, so that means Andreas Pereira steps to him. Then you on the right-hand side, you have Rashford pinching out to Zuma, and if the ball does get to James, Fred is ready to step and leave his marker in Jorginho. What we end up seeing here is that Zuma ends up playing the ball to Gahey, and that does see Martial step to him, and when Martial steps to him, Gahey slides the ball out to Alonso. That attracts Daniel James, and when Daniel James presses Alonso, Alonso plays the ball to Hudson-Odoi dropping off, but he's also tracked by Wan-Bissaka, and once Hudson-Odoi gets the ball, Wan-Bissaka steps to him and Daniel James does step to him. So he drops the ball back to Alonso. When Alonso gets the ball, you know James is going to come to him, and that's when Jorginho gets involved and he shifts over. When Jorginho shifts over to look to get the ball and receive the pass, that's when Andreas Pereira eventually steps to him, and we see Kovacic end up making the run in behind Andreas Pereira. So Jorginho gets the ball, plays it back into the path of Alonso. We see James come across, and that's when Alonso plays a nervy pass into Kovacic, and he doesn't receive it well. His first touch is poor, and that ignites Wan-Bissaka to step to him. When Wan-Bissaka steps to him, it leads to a 50-50 challenge, and that resulted in Marcus Rashford scoring an unbelievable free kick to put Manchester United up 2-1. Then we saw changes. Abraham coming on for Michy Batshuayi, and Ashley Young replacing Rashford. Young moved to left back, Williams just ahead of him. United move into more of a 4-5-1. McTominay ahead of the back four, ensuring that Mason Mount can't receive the ball between the lines. Fred and Andreas Pereira stepping to Jorginho and Kovacic to ensure that they can't build attacks out of the back. Martial looking to break into the channels ahead of Alonso and Reece James pushing forward. And basically what Solskjaer wanted to do was bolster the protection out in the wider areas. It was why he moved to the 4-2-3-1 while also pushing United forward. He wanted to make sure that Chelsea could no longer make the most of Rashford and Daniel James not being able to push out to the fullbacks. However, Chelsea did get one more opportunity. It stemmed from a short free kick, and Mason Mount had to drop off deeper to get on the ball. He ends up sliding the ball out to Hudson-Odoi, and normally you would see Wan-Bissaka step to him, but Daniel James does step to him with Marcus Alonso making a narrow run off James, and that's why James encouraged Wan-Bissaka to take him. However, when Hudson-Odoi gets the ball, he's able to cut away from James, and he's able to split James and Wan-Bissaka to play the ball to Marcus Alonso free in left half space. Maguire does read it well, but Alonso takes his first touch to the outside away from Maguire, and he fires a shot at the near post that Romero does push away. When you break down the game as a whole, Solskjaer does deserve credit again. His tactics and United playing in this system has seen the best of them throughout the season. They were very good in the first half, stifled Chelsea from getting any chances. Their approach allowed them to get into a position to win a penalty, and although United did suffer a bit in that second half because they were being overloaded in the wider areas, because Rashford and James weren't tracking back, he switched the system to push them higher up the pitch. He offered protection out in the wider areas, and although Chelsea did get into good areas from direct plays prior to that, they were unable to test Romero enough, and then United's pressing allowed them to get the winner, and they were able to see off the game. But let me know what you guys think. Which manager has done a better job this season? Is it Solskjaer? Is it Lampard? And now that United have advanced to the next round, do you think they could at least win the Carabao Cup? Meet me in the comments below. Don't forget I upload videos every day, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And that was your daily dose of the interviews.